My name is Rusty Oliver. I am a businessman and an artist. I've been working in industrial arts for almost 20 years now, and I occasionally do work with pyro and special effects as well. I work in industrial art because it's an extremely creative medium, and the lines between making something that has mechanical and electronic components and active components like flame make it a different type of art. A big part of doing creative work for me is just it's an exciting way to live, and I like to be exploring as much as I possibly can. So very often that means that I'm hanging out with scientists one day and business people the next, and then finally towards the end of the week I'll get some time to just sculpt or work on a project that I'm interested in. We are in Hazard Factory. This is my art studio. This is where I do the bulk of my work. I've got a TIG set up here. I normally have a MIG, Miller 251 set up here. And then I keep my smaller tooling along this wall. This is a CNC plasma cutter. We teach blacksmithing, foundry work, TIG welding, welding of aluminum, anything that's in a general sense related to industrial art. This is a fabricated piece that I cut on the CNC plasma. This was based on a steer skull. And the last one of these that I made, actually, I turned into a hood ornament on my Toyota. So it's a steer skull with like big horns. So it's kind of a vegan cow skull. I think we're all attracted to danger on some level. If you take a moment to think of what things that are in your life that you find really interesting, they correlate pretty strongly with risk. I'm a pyromaniac, right? I'm not the only one. If you get a group of people together and you ask who here has played with fire, every hand will go up. This is my favorite flamethrower. I've actually got kind of a lot of them. Fire was the first thing that we had to fend off things that might eat us, or even just like the dark. It's both our first technology and sort of like a spiritual lodestone, you know? It feels almost like a visualization of the human soul. Flaming tetherball is mostly about confidence and reflexes. The ball itself, we started with just toilet paper, and it's soaked in white gas, and then the ball will burn for about 5 to 7 minutes. One of the things that I really like about the game is that if you're someone that's got decent aerobic capacity but you're not particularly strong, or the reverse where you're strong but you're not particularly aerobic, it levels pretty well. So it's something where if you had nerves of steel but you're not necessarily in shape, you're going to do well. There is an element of physical risk in this that's more or less constant, and I find it engaging, and I find it helps me focus my attention. But by the same token, the most dangerous thing that I do every day is probably drive in traffic. I saw an expression I really liked, which is, without art, it's just life. There's a tendency for us always to take and situate problems in an area that we are comfortable with. So if I'm a technician, everything's a technical problem. If I'm a sociologist, everything is a social problem or a cultural problem. If I were a religious person, I would look at everything as kind of a religious problem. A creative person has the tendency to kind of do a fuzzy walk through all of these fields, and very often that will lead to solutions or data points that are otherwise ignored. And right now, one of the worst problems that we face is this sort of atomization of society. We're in this really contentious, deliberately contentious environment where nobody is able to, and people are much less willing to communicate to each other in deep, meaningful, sustainable ways. That is the worst possible problem we could have at this moment. What we need is to be able to reconceptualize our problems creatively, come up with creative solutions, and to do that, we need social engagement of a depth and a kind that we've never seen before. A livable future would support human health and happiness in a really deliberate way, and that's not actually what we're doing right now. Does our economy support people unilaterally? Do we support people emotionally and physically without question? The things that we do as artists that help generate healthy connections between people and question culture and social norms in useful ways, those are the things that we can do as artists that are, I think, a lot more important than you might realize. Whatever strengths you're gifted with, you're obligated to share. It doesn't matter what they are. We don't get the resources that we have so that we can have them just for us. It's not only pointless, it's mentally unhealthy. We don't do well like that. So my hope for the future is, yeah, I'm very hopeful for the future. But this is the kind of fight where I don't care if I'm going to lose. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the kind of fight where you don't get the option to not participate just because you think you're going to lose. So where does that leave us as a society? We don't want to lapse into violence or social disorganization and hatred and, finger pointing and name calling. We need solutions, and everyone's got to be at the table. Everyone's got to be heard, and that's how we get ourselves out of this mess.